godt å se. Jeg ser Storberget. Velkommen dere for å se.
Når vi lar oss berøre
Men han ba meg om å lage et portrett av trollmor som kunne stå på peishylla. Så
skiløype ned igjen.
Ja, det får vi jo se. Så snart som mulig over, ja. Tusen takk.
Tusen takk.
Tusen takk.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Hier in Altenberg aufgestellt, zusammen mit Francesco Friedrich.
Welcome back to Lillehammer in Norway for the penultimate race of the IBSF two-man bobsleigh World Cup season. The final race will be next weekend at the same venue, so the team's spending 2 weeks in this winter wonderland, and Lillehammer putting on a real show. From the opening ceremony to the 1,100 school kids watching the action yesterday, along with the other fans trackside. And the athletes have responded in kind, putting on an impressive performance. In third place after first heat, Brad Hall and Taylor Lawrence splitting the German domination of the podium. Adam and Issam Amour are behind them in fourth spot. And there is a tight battle for the lead of the race. Johannes Lochner and Georg Fleischauer, the track record holders and the gold medalists from last year's race, lying in second place, just a whisker behind our overall race leader. And that is Francesco Friedrich with his brakeman Alexander Schuller. Now their start just 400ths off the start record set back in 1993 by Pierre Luders and Jack Pick. And you can bet that they will be challenging that in the second heat, as well as going for gold and the European Championship. Well, Friedrich, a six-time European champion, looking for World Cup win number 52 and European Championship gold number 7. Hansi Lochner just 700ths back. Brad Hall a little bit isolated in third place, just ahead of Adam Amour. So that is the battle for the bronze medal position in the World Cup and in the European Championships. And 20 fastest sleds going through. So Taylor Austin of Canada, the last to qualify, will be going first. Georg Fleischauer, Hansi Lochner on the right, and Francesco Friedrich on the left. Bitter rivals, as you can see, chatting about their thoughts on the track. There's Brad Hall, snowing outside, but although the track is outside, it is covered all the way down. Wasn't so in 1994, that's for sure. Adam Amour, and the rest of them limbering up. Mats Miknes in his 90th two-man race, the Latvian brakeman. Not too many have done more than that. Francesco Friedrich is one of those who has 106th two-man World Cup start for Friedrich. And that's World Cup alone, not in total with all the other races, Olympics and Europe Cup and everything else. So our start draw, 20 down to 1. Taylor Austin goes off first, and then rookie Jakub Jarecki from Poland, Lee Chun-Jan, Roman Heinrich, yes, him again, Jakub's calendar, and so on, until we get down to the business end of the field, with Francesco Friedrich heading out last of all. Race 7, IBSF two-man bobsleigh World Cup in Lillehammer. Second heat gets underway with Taylor Austin and Cyrus Gray of Canada. 20th place after the first heat. And Taylor Austin starting late in the draw, 19th spot, has never raced on this track before. So did well to make it into the second heat. Let's see if another run's knowledge can help him improve. 5:25 getaway in the second heat. They started 5:21 in the first. And as the first sled down, they are the fastest, clearly, at least in this second run. So setting top speeds everywhere. 121 kilometers an hour, 75.5 miles an hour and change. Nice little straightening up tap out of 13 through 14. 15, and now the final corner across the line with a 51.74 run. 51.67 in the first heat, so just 700 of a second slower. Well, it'll be his second top 20 finish of the season. His best result of the year, 19th place. And that was in the last two-man race. That was in Samoritz in Switzerland. Again, getting hooked up, trying to get into the sled. Got to get your feet around the bungee straps that go from the top of the cowl down to the floor. They support the D-rings, the steering rings that you use to pull on the cables that steer the sled. Stop them just bouncing around on the floor, but you've got to get your legs around those and onto the footrests. So Taylor Austin, the leader, first of our 20 sleds down. And then the rookies from Poland, Jakub Żarewski and Paweł Sarnecki, came close to wrecking in the first heat, but still had enough speed to make it into the second. Paweł, a former brakeman, started driving back in 2017, raced with Matthias Luthi in World Cup and other ways with Luthi up until 2019, and his brakeman started in 2017 as well. So they've been around the block a few times in their previous 6 seasons. 1700s up on Taylor Austin at the start, losing just a whisker there. Nice entrance into the labyrinth. 7, 8, clean into 9. Little late flop. And oh, diving down in 10, and he's gone. Well, flirted with that in the first heat. Maybe trying to find just a little more speed in the second. And crashes at over 75 miles an hour. And that is as uncomfortable as it is noisy. First crash that the crowd have seen in the races this weekend. His brakeman, Paweł, gets out and wedges himself and the sled against the ice to stop it sliding back down. One of the Romanian crew there on hand to help. Well, dips down in the middle of 10, big late height, and just can't get it off cleanly. And into the left-hander at 11. He's on as he should be coming off. And it just doesn't quite come back for him into 12. 5-minute mandatory track hold now. Looks like the boys managed to keep themselves pretty much inside the sled. It's always the shoulders that are rubbing on the ice. And although the ice is cold, you do get friction burns. In the same way that cold tarmac burns through leathers. And they're humping their own sled out of the track. So, okay, they're okay then. Oh dear. Fairly physical stuff. Well, they will be no worse than 20th. They completed the run. They were both in the sled. They will not be disqualified. So, on their debut, they made the heat. They will probably make the highlights reel as well with that dramatic crash. Taylor Austin on the right, Cyrus Gray on the left-hand side is brakeman. They are your current leaders. Yeah, get some warm clothing there. I mean, we're liking the moose shirt. There's no question about that. The boys in just lycra and their thin running shoes, not keeping much warmth in either when you're standing on ice. When you're standing on ice, not much keeps your feet warm, and the running spikes definitely don't. Track workers just checking to make sure there are no big lumps or gouges taken out of the track. What you don't want is for tram lines steering sleds in directions the driver doesn't want. So they will look for holes and ice falling off the wall and all that sort of stuff. And this too is a part of the sport. Crashes do happen, the same as in Formula 1 or NASCAR or IndyCar or any other kind of racing. Coaches know it, athletes know it. There's a lineup of knowledge, isn't it? Italy, Latvia and Liechtenstein queuing up to get onto the ice. Well, great view across the valley, across the small town of Lillehammer. Lots of ski runs on the far side. Of course, this was not just a bobsleigh track. This is one of the key centres for the Olympic Games back in 1994. Hence all the ski pistes. Downhill was run directly opposite the bobsleigh track. Can be same deal in Cortina as well when the new track is online. Cortina d'Ampezzo is a small village in the, well, small town in the Dolomites, bigger than the village, a small town in the Dolomites, but it will be centre for all the sliding sports, so bobsleigh, skeleton, luge. It will also be the centre for the alpine skiing. So you're looking at men and women's downhill, GS, Super G, you're looking at the moguls, you're looking at the free ride parks. I mean, just so much going on in that alpine centre. And one of the key concerns is going to be finding somewhere to stay for the games. The athletes will have the village. For everybody else working there, actually finding somewhere within an hour's drive is not going to be easy. There is going to be a mass of people there, and that's before you factor in spectators. Just checking out the hat, Cyrus Gray. So Taylor Austin, Cyrus Gray in the leader's box. It's great fun when the athletes can see themselves in TV. It's like suddenly they've got a dressing room mirror. Oh, hang on. Yeah, where's my hat? Where's my hair? Repping their sponsors, making sure that everybody is aware of what's going on. Okay, so we are ready to restart. And we get going once more with Li Chunjian of China. His brakeman, the teenager Xi Yaolong. She just 18, has competed in all the two-man races this season. Li is clearly one of those drivers who, when he feels he's got the brakeman that does the best job for him, is not keen on letting him go. Maybe rest him tomorrow, so he's got a couple of weeks off. Or maybe rest him next week from the two-man, so he's got a couple of weeks off before the World Champs. He'll tend to be in the four-man crew as well for Li. Cameron Striskin's in the back there knows all about the stresses and strains on a brakeman's body. So Li Chunjian gets us ready to get back underway. 18th in the first heat. Li finished in 20th place in the World Cup here last year. 6th place finish is his best result in the World Cup and this season in race 2. 5:17 getaway, 5:15 in the first heat. It's 29th World Cup two-man race. Creeping away from Taylor Austin. 2400s up from the start, out to 2900s up. Starting 800s quicker than Taylor Austin and Cyrus Gray. You can see really why Li doesn't want to let his brakeman go if he doesn't have to. Brings good speed. Little tap from 13 down to 14. Early on to 15, but held it nicely. Second best speed, but he's ahead of the line by 2900s with a 51.61 slide. So 2400s up at the start, 2900s up at the bottom. He added just 500ths of a second in the entire run over Taylor Austin. Not a bad run out of 13. Just waiting to see. I was looking to see really where the runners went compared to those little marks in the track. Sort of straddle it. Through 15. Holds a nice even keel. Li on the left. And Xi on the right-hand side. Next up for France, the old stagers. Okay, enough of that. Robin Heinrich and Doreen Otteville. Their last race together was not here last year. It was in Altenburg in January 2023, just before the World Championships in St. Moritz. So it was the final World Cup race of their careers at that stage. They both retired after the St. Moritz World Champs. and have both returned now. It was Roma's idea to come back. I wonder how much persuading Dorian O'Deville took to get back into the sled after 2 seasons away, but they are back together. '17th place after the first heat. 700s in front of Lee Chun-Jan, out to 1100s. And half a dozen races across the 2 and 4 man before they got back to the World Cup in Samoritz. And this is their return. It's Roma's 40th World Cup 2-man race as a driver. And he does seem to have the old moves, doesn't he? Top speed at the bottom so far. 132.82 miles an hour. So into the lead by 0.3 of a second, having been just 700ths up after the start, 400ths up in the first heat. That's a big step away from Lee Chun-Jan, regaining that knowledge. Good to see so many fans out here as well in Lillehammer. The track and the organisers doing a massive job to promote the Olympia Park here in Lillehammer. It's a big skiing destination, and they're trying to make sure that everybody knows about this place before the World Championships come in 2027. So, there's Roman Heinrich, the leader, with Dorian O'Deville. First 4 sleds down, Jacobs Kalender and Mads Miknes next up. Kalender in his 20th drive in the 2-man World Cup, and 58th World Cup start in 2-man alone for Mads Miknes. It's his 90th IBSF authorised 2-man race. He only seems to be a bit tape and still mostly human. 5:02, another excellent start, just what they did in the first heat. Now these guys were Jacobs was 9th last year, didn't have Mads on the sled then. So 17th, not quite where he would, 16th, not quite where he would like to have been. And the gap is coming down. It was a really good run from Roman Heinrich. Kalender needs to be clean. Little dip in the middle of the corner, not helping. Needs to be clean out of 13, not too bad, still in the green. Not now. Speed's not quite where it needs to be, we're not getting that from the sled. And across the line, 1100s back, the French move up one. Roma on the left, Dorian O'Deville on the right. And slipping a spot into second place, Jacobs Kalender and Mads Miknes. They'll be no worse than 17th. And the way that the sleds are tightly racked up in our top 20, no guarantee that they may not gain a spot if somebody else falters. That does happen. Out of 13, lets it come straight and true. Takes the little tap on the run down to 14. That was a decent exit. Kept them in touch, not quite close enough to keep their noses in front. What's 1100ths of a second in terms of distance at 80 miles an hour? I should be able to work it out, but I can't. Roman Heinrich, the leader, 5 down, 15 to go. Great Britain's Adam Baird is next up, the 34-year-old with 27-year-old former rugby league star Ollie Butterworth behind him. Ollie in his second 2-man World Cup start, and an 8th for his driver Adam, who is not that small, but Ollie is just basically as wide as he is tall. 5:14 getaway, second quickest start behind Kalender. So he's got a slender advantage over Roman Heinrich. Roman with a mass more knowledge, although not necessarily of this track. Little uncomfortable entrance into the labyrinth, and that's going to rob him of speed. The green numbers will turn red here. No, they don't. Oh, he is flying at the moment then, higher speed than Heinrich. Maybe just letting the sled do the driving is working for him. I'm overstating that clearly. Second best speed. Hasn't been the most comfortable ride for Ollie Butterworth in the back, but they have the lead, 51.31, 1300s up. So they lead with 14 to come. They will be no worse than 15th place. 7 Europe Cup races on the track for Adam Baird. And his first World Cup outing. They'll go again in the 4-man. They'll go again in the 2-man next week as well. It's a double weekend, or 2 weekends of bobsleigh. So good stuff from Adam Baird, the leader. And next up is Pat Norton with Mike Evelyn behind him for Canada. 14th place after the first of our 2 heats, 900ths of a second the lead over Great Britain's Adam Baird and Ollie Butterworth. Mike Evelyn digging in at the back. Pat Norton out second in the first heat. Good ice, he's got good ice again, as everybody has in this second heat. 32-year-old in his first race weekend on the track. It's only Pat's 6th World Cup start and his first second heat of the year. Oh, a little late. Just slips a whisker behind Adam Baird. Baird will be watching the leader's box. Ooh, nice exit out of 13, but the gap has grown surely too big. Not the best speed at the bottom, so he's going to lose. Well, drops 3 spots down to 4th place. Synchronised applause from the Canadian coaches, Lyndon Rush and Justin Cripps. But slipping down to 4th place. He'll be no worse than 17th. Adam Baird, Roman Heinrich and Jakobs Calendar all move up a spot. First time here, learning the track as he goes in 2-man and 4-man over just 6 runs, and that's not each, that's spread over the 2 disciplines. Not easy at all. And then trying to find that consistency. What can you do? Well, you can come back tomorrow and next week. That's what you can do. And that doesn't often happen in the world of bobsleigh. Next up for Korea, Kim Jin-soo with Kim Hyung-gyun behind him. Let's see what they can produce. 9th World Cup for the brakeman, 9th for the driver as a driver, plus 15 before that in the World Cup as a brakeman. So 2 push athletes in this sled, and a 5:03 getaway, the second quickest. 3/10 up on Adam Baird. First heat advantage now being added to, but he was kind of late there onto 7. Kind of high onto 7. Gets it all under control, out of 10. It's a bit of a wild ride, but he's maintaining that advantage. He will be the leader at the line, even if he wrecks it now. Across the line, 51.19, takes the lead from Adam Baird. 8 down. 12 to come. He will be no worse than 13th. Adam Baird no worse than 14th place. And Roman Heinrich potentially 15th on his first World Cup race in Lillehammer. Taking a moment or 2 to get out of the sled there. Hopefully he's okay, because he's got a lot of work to do in the next 8 or 9 days. Good view of the crew there in 15. Brakeman bent down, out of the wind.
Good job.
Kim Jin-soo closest to us. Kim Hyung-gyun behind him. Next up for Switzerland, Cedric Follador, and a change of brakeman after the first heat. Quentin Juillard. I'm going to get emails again or texts on. Quentin Juillard is in the sled. Look, everybody's Germanic. I'm trying to change to the odd French name. Give me a break. Stop changing push athletes as well between the heats. So Cedric Follador starting with Luca Rolli. Quentin Juillard in the sled now. 5:18 to get away. What do they start in the first heat? 5:16. Hopefully Luca Rolli is only temporarily indisposed. 1300s back behind Kim and Kim, who started a 10th faster. In fact, 1500s faster. Trying to close the gap, but it's not happening. They're going to drop behind Adam Baird. And they may well, at this rate, drop behind Roman Heinrich as well. No, they're closing the margin once more, so they will be second at the line ahead of Baird and Heinrich. A 10th back, came from a quarter of a second adrift to within a 10th. So Cedric Follador in second place with Quentin Juillard. Well, it wasn't a bad looking drive. Losing speed at the start to the Koreans meant that it was always going to be a tough ask. Needed to be a little tidier than it was to really close that margin down, but he gave it a good throw. So sled goes into the scabbards for transport. It'll be weighed along with the crew to make sure everything is legal, i.e. not too heavy and also not too light, just right. Next up, Patrick Baumgartner, 49th World Cup race in the two-man with Rob Messier in his 20th. 11th place after the first of our two heats. Let's see if he can crack another top 10 finish out. His worst result of the season has been 10th place. Top 10 finishes over the last few years have been few and far between for Patrick Baumgartner. His career high of 4th place in the season opener last year in Beijing. Little tap away in 9, that's not helping. Speed's not going to be there, is it? 3rd fastest, the gap will continue to grow. Kim's going to pick off another one. Baumgartner and Rob Messier finished 10th together last year, 11th in the first heat, but they slipped one. And with 10 to go, Kim Hyung-gyun on the left and Kim Jin-soo on the right are your race leaders. So Baumgartner may well be on his way to posting his first finish outside of the top 10 this season. Well, he'll be frustrated by that, but the good news is he can learn more and come back next week and try and improve. Of course, everybody else will as well. Got on much too early into 13, and then having to steady the ship in 15 again. Came in a little on the wrong side. So 10 down, 10 to go. It is Kim and Kim of Korea who are the leaders, with the final 10 sleds still to come. So after that 5-minute track pause, there is no hold in proceedings. Next up for Monaco, Boris Vian and Antoine Rieu. raced together to 11th place last year. They were 10th in the first heat. And if they can hang on in front of Kim Jin-soo of Korea, this will be their second top 10 finish of the season. 5:15. Started 5:12 in the first heat. Boris's 12th two-man World Cup as a driver, the 8th start in two-man World Cup for Antoine on the back. 800s behind Kim from the start. Oh, and in trouble as he comes into the labyrinth. And the sled all at 6s and 7s. What is going on? I thought he was going to wreck it there. Still the 6th best speed. But he is going to plunge down the order. It is not going to be a top 10 finish for the Monaco team. It will be, though, for Korea. That all went west in a hurry, didn't it? And the problem then, when you get so offline, is that you have to really scrabble around. Good to see Ian Richardson out in the snow, and this is in the labyrinth. Got thrown in sideways out of 6, all over 7, and just fighting for survival here. That's when the survival instinct really takes over, wrestling the sled around out of 8, still skidding down into 9, backing it into 9. Oh, and one imprecise line can have such a catastrophic result. Monaco down to 5th place with 9 to go. So Mihai Tentia with Gheorghe Dash. They were the first out at lunchtime. And looking for a top 10 result. This will be their first top 10 of the season, the best so far. An 11th place finish. They finished 16th, or Mihai did last year, with Constantin Dinescu behind him last season, I seem to recall. 1100s back. That 5:03 start of Kim Jin-soo and Kim Hyung-gyun is really helping. Mihai starting 5:12 in both heats, so giving away 1800s to the Koreans in the start time alone. 1500s back. Stabilising the ship, doesn't quite have the speed I think that Kim had. No, he doesn't. 2/10 back, and a late flop out of 13 not helping. He's going to go down as well. Loses 3 places. He comes in just ahead of Adam Baird. In fact, he's tied with Adam Baird, so Baird didn't lose a spot. Baird picked up 1 as Boris Van dropped behind him. Picks up another as Mihai Tentia can't beat him either. Good to see friends and family here. Actually, Baumgartner's family here, so lots of skeleton friends and family here yesterday. Lots of bobsled family here as well. And again, a little bit like Cedric Follador and a little bit like Boris Vath. It all just kind of started happening in a hurry in places where Mihai wasn't quite expecting it to, I think. 15. Got that early spike, and then holds the height. So he slips back down the order. Korea lead Kim Jin-soo as we get to our 13th sled, Sun Kai-chi of China. Just 700ths of a second advantage over Kim Jin-soo, our current leader. And that's why there's been all of this change around, because this sort of 6 to 16 group is always so jam-packed with sleds, so tightly packed together. You sneeze in the wrong, not that you're going to sneeze in the wrong, but if you breathe in the wrong place often, it'll cost you. So they lose their first heat lead, starting more slowly than the Koreans. And that extra speed that Kim had is still helping him all the way down here to corner 10. 7th best speed, not good enough for Sun Kai-chi of China. Not a bad exit out of 13, but he's 2 tenths adrift, 7th best speed. And at the moment, he's in free fall as well. Drops to the back of the pack, 6th place. So Kim leads with 7 to go. Kim Jin-soo with 2 5th place finishes so far this season. Started the year in Altenburg with a top 5. He's getting close to that again. And Sun dropping down to 6th place, a loss of 5 spots. Well, it'll still be a top 12 finish. Where did he finish last year? 15th place, so it's an improvement on that. And actually his equal best result of the season and equal 2nd best of his career in 2-man. And if there's more faltering in front, he might pick up another one. 7th place then, our sole US representative, Frank Del Duca and Maneo Mitchell. They raced together here last year and ended up in 5th place. So let's see if they can hold off the resurgent Koreans. In and down, nice load, 5:08. Only 500 slower than Kim. So 1400s up. Twelve hundredths of a second in front. A little late coming out of 6. Sliding through the labyrinth. Tail doing a bit of driving in the sled. 1400s up, stabilise the ship. He's starting to creep away. Let's see, well, we're not getting the speeds off the sled, but 1800s, you can tell he's going quicker than the Koreans were. And across the line, 51.11. So 500 slower than their first heat. And on a humid afternoon with moisture in the air from the snow, that's pretty good. I don't think the track is getting any quicker, that's for sure. Out of 13, not a bad exit. Just a tiny little corrective steer. And that puts him slightly on the wrong side for 14. Going into 14, having to drive it left to get into the right-hander. Didn't get as close as the first heat. Was a little bit exciting. So Frank Del Duca leads for the USA with 6 to go as we get to our next Swiss sled. Timo Rona with Greg Jones behind him. Well, Rona's first World Cup race here, but 8 Europe Cup races here and 8 in 4-man. So loads of knowledge of this track, possibly one of the more experienced sliders here in Lillehammer, despite it being his first World Cup race here. 5:09 start. Del Duca and Mitchell started 5:08. So it should be top 6 starting for Timo Rona and Greg Jones. That's why he's got Greg back on the sled. That's why if Jones takes to driving, he could be quite a force for Switzerland. 200s behind. This is going to be very tight. We're getting the speeds here. We didn't get the speeds from the Americans. He's not quite quick enough. Little sliding around, 600s in it, 2nd best speed. It could still be close to the line. Is Rona going to make it? No, 1200s back. Maneo Mitchell on the right, Frank Del Duca on the left, move up a spot. Timo Rona slips back one. Now don't forget the European Championships are up for grabs as well here. So Chinese, American, Canadian, And other athletes do not count, but the remaining sleds are all European nations. So 5 to go, and Timo Rona in second place will still be in the top 6 in the European Championships, because the man ahead of him, Frank Del Duca, will not be visible for European Championship honours. So Timo with his back to us. And it is Frank Del Duca who leads with 5 to go. So Frank Del Duca finished 5th last year. Mickey Vogt finished just ahead of him in 4th place. Andreas Haas on the back of the sled with Mickey this year. Finished 7th last year with Simon Friedli. It's Andy's 20th two-man World Cup race. It's a 51st for Mickey Vogt. 4th place last year, 5th place in the first heat. And his challenge now would try and catch and overhaul Adam and Issam Amour, who come up next. They were 4th after the first heat. And then is there any way he's going to stretch to get to Brad Hall? 1300s ahead of Frank Del Duca. Top speed from Vogt. A little bit more flopping below corner 6 off some of the corners than is ideal. The gap continues to grow, still has the best speed. Not a bad run from 13 to 14. Still has the best speed. Quarter of a second up. This is a challenge for the medals from Mickey Vogt. 2800s up, 50.93 run. Really good stuff. 300s quicker than their first heat. So is that going to get him into the medals? Is that possibly going to get him a European medal as well? 4 sleds remain. All European nations. 3 Germans and a Brit, basically. So can Mickey Vogt crack the top 3? Well, nice shot there into the sled. Andy Haas tucked in underneath. 4 to go as we get to our first German sled. Adam and Issam Amour. Adam with his older brother behind him again. And with an option or a possibility, let's say, to try and get into the top 3. 11th two-man World Cup for Issam Amour, 15th for driver Adam. Bronze medalist here on this track last year with Benedikt Hertel behind him. Can he repeat with his brother? Last time they raced together, Issam's only two-man World Cup start of the season so far was in Altenburg. They finished with a bronze medal. Will lightning strike twice? Nice early part of the run, 4 to 5, the little tap that everybody takes. The wave coming into 6, smoothly into the labyrinth, best speed of all. This is the challenge that Brad Hall will have to fight off. He's next up to try and stop the German domination of the podium. Second best speed, fastest at that stage, Mickey Vogt. Decent exit out of 13. He's got a handy lead over the Swiss. He will take the lead at the line. He will lead with 3 to go. Is that enough for a medal? 50.80. So 2400s up. Started 1100s quicker than Mickey Vogt with a 4.99. They started 5:01 in the first heat. Bit of brotherly love. Is that going to be enough to take a medal? It is going to be very close indeed. It's a real challenge for the remaining 3 sleds. Sam on the left, Adam on the right. 3 to go for the medals. Great Britain's Brad Hall and Taylor Lawrence. There's Graham Richardson, the coach. His big brother Ian is here as well. Saw him just at the bottom of the track a few sleds ago from the British Bobsleigh Federation, BBSA. So for a medal, to get into the top three here, or stay in the top three, Brad Hall and Taylor Lawrence started 5 flat in the first heat, 5:01, so losing 200ths to Adam and Issam Amour. As they sit down, their lead is 700ths of a second. This is a one-shot race, effectively, as close to a dead heat as you want. 600ths up. Little tap, 4 to 5, a double tap. That's taking a bit of speed out of the sled. Only the third fastest, 400ths of a second. Needs to find more speed lower down. Fourth best speed, slipping away from Brad Hall, the medal. Adam Amour was faster at this stage. Still in only 100th, and best speed of all at the bottom. Is he going to turn this around to green numbers? Yes, by 200ths of a second. In the medals, Brad Hall and Taylor Lawrence. Silver medal in the third race of the year, and at least a bronze in race number 7. And his trapped finger did not put him off. He found the speed below 13. That might be as good an exit as you're going to see all day, unless Hansi Lochner and Francesco Friedrich tidy up 13, because they were untidy in the first heat. And in 15, all a big T on show there in the back of the sled. So Brad Hall, Taylor Lawrence lead with 2 to go. At least European bronze medalists. They will take at least a bronze here. Brad was 6th last year. Next up, last year's winner on this track. Winners, Johannes Lochner, he's the man in the mask, and Georg Fleischhauer. It's on, isn't it? It is on. 3 wins so far this season in the 2-man, against 4 for Francesco Friedrich. Can they make it honours even? Started 4.97 in the first heat, 4.97 in the second. It is not about Brad Hall. Friends though they are and rivals though they are, it is about Friedrich. It is about gold for Hansi Lochner. Oh, little tap, 4 to 5 and a tail skid. Smooth out of 6. Like Friedrich, his first run through the labyrinth was an untidy one. That is definitely better. Building a big advantage over Brad now, out to 3/10. Third best speed, very late flop out of 13. And really late. That would have shaken the fillings of both of them. Top speed and the lead at the line with 1 to go. 50.72. At least a European silver medal. That's René Spies, I think, in the balaclava. Looks like he's struggling with a cold. So, that's what Hansi's got. What has Franz got? 12 to 13. Again, sled just drifting away as he came into 13, so he's late on, very late off. Not at all comfortable. And then that little spike of height into 15, holds it up nicely, rolls it out. There's your leaders. For the gold medal and the European Championship title for the 7th time. Last year's silver medalists, Francesco Friedrich and Alexander Schuller. This is for win number 5 of the season in 2-man. '30th World Cup start today for the brakeman Alex Schuller. 28 medals in his previous 29 outings with Francesco Friedrich. And it's hard to imagine this won't be a 29th. But what colour will it be? 4.97 start. They did not get the start record, as in the first heat they were 400ths away. as in the first heat, they are tied with Lochner at the start. So the gap was tiny. Oh, big skids. Was 1200s up. Oh, and looping high there as well. It's really untidy, but Friedrich has adopted this knack of letting the sled go. Better out of 13, that's the deciding transition. He's got the lead, he's got the top speed, he's got the gold. Friedrich wins in Lillehammer. He is the European champion for the 7th time. In the end, added a 1/10 of a second to his advantage over Johannes Lochner. Claims win number 5 of the season, win number 52 of his World Cup career. In two-man alone. And it is a 29th medal for big Alex Schuller behind him. 84th two-man World Cup medal in his 106th race. So since he started, 4 times out of 5, he comes to the line, he is on the podium. And in the last 5 or 6 seasons, the hit rate has been much higher than that. The days when he's not in the medals are the exception rather than the rule. I mean, Alex Schuller's been with him 30 times and they've only missed a medal once. So a 7-time European champion, Francesco Friedrich. He wins from Johannes Lochner with Brad Hall 200s ahead of Adam Amour, taking the bronze and the European bronze medal. Frank Del Duca in 6th ahead of Timo Röner, and Kim Jin-soo, coming storming up the order into 8th place. And is that, no, that's not quite his best result of the season, but a really good run for somebody who has not raced on this track before. And for our rookie, well, a first heat that translated into a second heat, and then Jakub Jarecki wrecked it in the second. The boys are okay, and hopefully they will be fit to go again with no further dramas. But for now, our most recent race winner in the two-man bobsleigh World Cup, Francesco Friedrich, with Alex Schuller once more behind him. His second ever race weekend on this track. Last year he discovered Lillehammer for the very first time, never came here in his junior career, but Lochner in second, Hall in third. They're all trying to be as tall as Alex Schuller. Lads, it's not happening. And that badly gashed finger, where the push bar collapsed again on Brad Hall. So the European Championship gold goes to Francesco Friedrich. Johannes Lochner takes the silver, Brad Hall the bronze medal. And the overall World Cup standings are the same. Friedrich leads by 30 points. 1 race to go. It is game on for gold. Patrick Baumgartner in 4th, unlikely to catch Brad Hall unless Brad does not start in the final two-man race of the season next weekend, and hopefully that won't be an issue. But at the moment, just 30 points between Lochner and Friedrich, and that is the difference between 1st and 4th. So Hansi needs to win, France needs to be on the podium to take the gold. 34 sliders have competed in the World Cup so far this season, including 3 first-timers this weekend alone. Well, I hope that they enjoyed the opening ceremony. I hope they've enjoyed their day's action so far. It is not over for us, though. Confirmation of the European Championship results: Friedrich and Schuller gold, Lochner, Fleischhauer silver, and Hall and Lawrence take the bronze ahead of the Amours, Vogt and Haas, and Röner and Jones, 2 Swiss sleds in the top half dozen. Adam Baird in a tie for 9th place in the European Championships with Mihai Tenteja. So that is it for bobsleigh for today. Tomorrow, the women's bob in the morning and the 4-man at lunchtime. But there is more track action this afternoon. We have our skeleton mixed team race. That comes up as we head into the darkness. 4 p.m. local, 1500 GMT. That is 10 Eastern. We'll see you then. Bye for now.
Oké, here we go. Francesco Friedrich, gratuliere Alexander Schüller natürlich auch. Gratuliere mit dem Europameisterschaft. Das muss immer Spaß geben.
Ja, auf jeden Fall. Es war wieder ein spannendes Rennen. Es ist eng. Wie gesagt, die Bahn kommt an ihre Grenzen. Im Mittelteil hat man immer ganz schön zu rudern, das irgendwie hinzukriegen. 2x8,9 nicht so gut erwischt. Der Rest war dafür ganz okay. Ja, aber wie gesagt, wir waren am Start halt gut, in der Bahn soweit auch gut. Material scheint auch zu laufen. Also wir sind sehr happy mit der Leistung heute.
Also du bist Olympiasieger, du bist Weltmeister. Ist eine Europameisterschaft noch immer wichtig für dich?
Ja, das ist auch wichtig. Auch wichtig war, dass wir hier den Zweier gewinnen, weil das haben wir letztes Jahr nicht mitgenommen und das hat noch gefehlt.
Gut so. Also das ist dein 30. Wettkampf im Zweier, deine 29. Medaille. Das ist fast 100%ig.
Boah, ich glaube schon ein paar Rennen. Über 100 Weltcups, glaube ich, sind es.
Ja, aber im Zweier.
Ja, über 100 im Zweier und ich glaube, das ist der über 50. Sieg, ich weiß gar nicht genau.
Das weiß ich mir. Wird das ein bisschen langweilig gewinnen?
Nee, auf keinen Fall. Wie gesagt, es ist spannend, es ist eng mit Hansi. Im Vierermorgen wird es viel enger. Da sind hier 3, 4, 5 Schlitten, die auf einem Spot hier reinkommen, wo es um ein paar Hundertstel geht. Hat man schon im Skeleton gesehen. Bei den Herren, dass es da richtig eng war und so wird es hier morgen auch werden.
Alexander, bist du auch zufrieden mit deinem Lauf heute?
Ja, ich denke, wir können zufrieden sein. Am Start waren wir diese Woche wieder dran. War zwar die Woche wieder ein bisschen angeschlagen, dieses Jahr macht mein Immunsystem nicht so mit, aber Richtung WM können wir auf jeden Fall guter Dinge sein und wir haben ja noch ein paar Wochen Zeit.
Okay, Jungs, gratuliere.
Dankeschön. Dankeschön.
Okay. Johannes Lochner, Georg Fleischhauer, gratuliere zum zweiten Stelle. Das ist ein bisschen enttäuschend oder nicht?
Ja, ich habe zu viele Fehler gemacht heute in der Bahn. Also gerade